Hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm just waiting for my person that I'll be having a conversation with to jump on, and there she is. So let me request for her to join. And I believe she's coming on up right now. And there she is. Hello. Welcome,
Hi.
Joanna.
Hi. Okay, that was pretty easy.
Yeah, very simple. So welcome, everyone, to Taking the Leap. It is Tuesday, and it's March 22nd, 2022. Another one of those dates with the twos, right? And I'm really excited to have Joanna Meiseles here as my guest. I've actually known Joanna. I was trying to think back. What year were you president of EO Boston?
Maybe like 2012, maybe 2010,
I don't know.
more, at least 10 years ago.
At least 10 years ago. So we met because I was working with Entrepreneurs Organization, and Joanna was a member, and she became president of the EO Boston chapter. And
Yep.
so I had the honor of working with her for over a year, planning all the events and retreats and everything that we did as a chapter. And it was great. And it's an amazing organization and a great way to get to know people. So I've known her for a while. I'm really excited to have her on Taking the Leap today. And for those of you, this may be your first time, Taking the Leap are conversations with women who've gone out and created their dream business and changed their life. And they've done it around the age of 40 and older. And it may have been something that they had been thinking about for a long time. It may even have been something that they started a little bit earlier. But they've really gone headfirst and made it happen. And so thank you, Joanna, for joining me today.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me. And I was actually thinking back that we knew each other for probably 4 or 5 years before I was president
that's
of
true.
EO, because I was a member of EO for several years, and you were on the board and doing the events and things like that. So,
Right.
yeah. So
I
we've been
started
friends way
actually in
back.
2005. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
It doesn't seem like that long ago. It shouldn't
Right.
be 17 years ago, but it is. It's crazy. Yeah.
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 And I still work with them. So it's really amazing, to
Uh-huh.
have them as my client for this many years and to still be just as excited about every program and every learning and meeting so many amazing entrepreneurs from all over the world, which is what's so special about the organization. And,
Absolutely.
you know,
100%.
for me as an entrepreneur, that's a dream client because it's who I am, and it's creating experiences for people that I understand and that I genuinely love, and really want to help them continue their learning. And so that's what it's all about. So
Mhm.
I want everybody to get to meet you today. And can you tell everyone a little bit about your past and where you're from? And although it was EO Boston, you're not in Boston anymore.
No. Yep.
So,
So right now I'm coming to you from Northern California. I live in a town called Los Altos, which is right next to Palo Alto. So I'm right in the heart of Silicon Valley in the Bay Area,
mhm,
on the peninsula. And I've lived here for about 6 years, and I moved from Boston to live
mhm,
out here. So I'm from Los Angeles originally. Moved to Boston when I got married many, many moons ago, and started my first business in Boston. And I think that's kind of for my husband's career and my career, and one thing after another kind of kept us in Boston. I never thought I would live in Boston for as long as I did, but we ended up in Boston for like 25 years.
wow,
So we raised our kids in Boston, and the bulk of my entrepreneurial life was in Boston. I was very plugged into the entrepreneurial scene, including EO and Babson Center for Women in Entrepreneurship and other speaking opportunities and things like that in Boston. And so when my husband got the opportunity to move to California, I was actually just turning 50, and so I was excited to move back home, like to
Mm-hmm.
be closer. I'm from LA, but close enough. Like I always
Right.
imagined I would
You're
live in
still a Cali girl.
California. I'm a California girl at heart,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really happy to be back here. But it was definitely a huge change, you know, to go from building my life in Boston, my friends, my career, my support system, you know, everything was in Boston.
Right.
And, you know, even though I'm in California, in Los Altos, where I live, we didn't know anyone. Well, we knew one person when we moved here. So,
So it's an entrepreneurial
yeah.
city. I mean, Boston was an amazing place for resources to start your first business. Can you
Yeah.
share with everyone what your first business was?
Yeah, so my first business was Snippets, which is a chain of hair salons for kids. And I actually started that business it started in 1995 is when I opened the first location, which
Mm-hmm.
was in Framingham, Massachusetts. And at that time, I was a young mom, and my oldest son, who's now in his 30s, which is hard to
Oh my
believe,
God. Wow.
he's 31. But when he was just a cute little baby with these golden curls growing
Mm-hmm.
down his back, and it was time for his first haircut, I really had like an aha moment when I took him for his first haircut, because there was no place that was special for kids. And
Mm-hmm.
since I was in Boston, and I'm not from Boston, and my husband's not from Boston, like we didn't know, you know, we couldn't share it with our family.
Right.
So, you know, we literally, like, I went to the hair salon with my video camera on my shoulder. I was actually pregnant with my second child.
Uh-huh.
And we had an okay experience. It wasn't terrible, but it was, you know, I really wanted it to be like a rite of passage for him. His
Uh-huh.
first haircut, I had waited such a long time. And, you know, I wanted it to be like a little bar mitzvah, like his, like, you know,
How
such a
old was he?
special. He was probably a little more than one, you know, like
Oh, he was
one.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 1.5, something like that. You know, his
Uh-huh.
curls were growing down his back, and people were starting to think he was a girl. But,
Uh-huh.
you know, the place that I took him was just a regular salon. They were very nice. They propped him up on some phone books, and they,
Mm-hmm.
you know, did a nice job. But it wasn't set up for kids. And I literally left that haircut and said to my husband, I should open a children's hair salon. And he said, you should call it
Go for
Snippets.
it.
Yeah, he said, call it Snippets. And like right away, I had this idea, and I had a name, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I just became kind of obsessed with this idea that if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I can do this. Like, maybe there's things that I can't do. Like, I probably couldn't start a tech company because I'm not a
Uh-huh.
tech person, but you know, a hair salon, like I could wrap my arms around that. I can learn what I need to learn, and I can figure it out. And so I set out to open a hair salon for kids, but I always had big dreams. I don't know if that's the Hollywood in me, or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where that kind of comes from, but I never had the intention of opening a single location that I would work in. You know, I wasn't just trying to solve my problem for myself. I wanted really to build something that I
Right.
felt like
But it
could be
started like with every
amazing.
entrepreneur. It was something that you saw a need for your own child. And you said, oh,
Exactly.
you know what? Everybody else is going to have this need as well. And I'm going to solve that problem for them. And also, I think maybe there was a little Disney in that sort of experiential piece of that salon.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, at the time that I was designing and planning Snippets, I wanted to create something that could be replicated and something that would really like be a brand.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know much about marketing or branding, but I knew that I wanted it to be like if you went to one in Framingham or you went to one in LA, it wouldn't matter. Like, you would know that you're in this magical
It would be
place.
the
That
same
kind of,
experience.
the same experience, yeah. And at the time, the movie Beauty and the Beast had come out recently. It was such a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, right? But
Yeah.
I got this idea. You know, I had so many aha moments. You know, first it was like, I should open a children's hair salon. And then when I saw the movie Beauty and the Beast, I just had this idea, this aha moment, that there should be characters that would welcome the kids in. So like
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Potts and Lumiere, you know, were household objects that came to life. I was going to create a scissors and a blow dryer and hair clips and
It's
things
great.
like that would come to life and entertain the kids in the salon.
Mm-hmm.
So I created this whole kind of, Disney is a good way to put it. I kind of think of it as like Disney meets Dr. Seuss. It's kind of like a little wacky.
Uh-huh.
but this kind of cartoon world that the kids walk into. And then I also really wanted to create an environment that was great for the moms. So I knew that, no child goes for their haircut by themselves. So it's really
Right.
a 3-person experience. It's the child, it's the parent, and then it's the hairdresser who's working with them. So there has to be room at the station, and the whole thing has to be set up for a family visit, not just for a child to sit in the chair.
How long did it take you? How long did it take you to actually create it?
Between the time I had the idea, like Ben's first haircut, and opening was probably about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, about 3 years. And a lot of that was, life got in the way. I was having another baby, and it took a lot to kind of figure out how I was going to fund it, how I was going to really make it happen. And then another kind of fortunate thing that happened was that this space was available in Shoppers World in Framingham, which was Shoppers World, for those of you who don't know, Framingham, Massachusetts, is actually the oldest mall in the country.
Right.
And they had demalled it and turned it into what they call a power center, which was, so it was brand new. They kept some of the original mall for posterity, but it was really a brand new shopping center. And a power center is like where you have really big locations, like 30,000 square feet. You've got like a TJ Maxx and a Staples and a Bloomingdale's furniture shop and things like that. So in the front of Shoppers World were 3 smaller spaces, and because they faced the road, they didn't want to make it all one. They wanted to have 3 that would face the road and have good frontage. And when I saw that space available, I had to have it. Like, I literally would have given my firstborn child to get that location.
You did.
And I practically did. And so I got that location. So then I was kind of off and running. I had this great idea, great concept, premier location. And then all the hard stuff happened where I had to figure out how to actually run a business and hire qualified hairdressers and make sure that I'm not a hairdresser. So, I don't know how to train. I don't know how to, I only know from a mom what I want as the experience. So, yeah.
So that's amazing. So how many, before you sold the business, correct?
Yeah. So the basic.
How many sites did you have at that point before?
So I opened 5 locations in the greater Boston area, and then I started franchising. So that also took me into a whole new direction, a whole new industry where I was franchising. We got to about 70 locations before I left, and I left in 2009. So in fact, I could probably go back to that as the time that I was the president of EO, because it was when I was winding down my work with Snippets, and I was still on the board, but I wasn't active in the day-to-day operations. And that was when I decided
you had the space.
Yeah, I wanted to up my responsibility at EO because I had the time, and I had the energy to do that. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and they're all over
it's still
now.
there. I think it's still there. I mean, I know I drive by and I've seen it.
So the one in Framingham actually moved across the street from itself, but it is still there. And it's been there for 27 years.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's
really.
It opened in 1995.
And along the way, you learned a lot about franchising, a lot about parenting, a lot about kids and getting haircuts. And also about transitions and making all these changes and raising money. I mean, it was really sort of, you had to learn everything from ground up.
I did, but nothing scared me. Nothing. I was ready for all of it, and I had no hesitation that it was going to be hard or that it was not going to go the way I planned. And when I look back on that, I really was fearless. I have much more trepidation now. I've learned too much, but yeah, it was a really great experience, and definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. Not without its hard, really difficult, personality issues with franchisees, things that just hurt my feelings. I took everything so personally. It was just sort of heart-wrenching in a way to run that business.
And did you intend to go out there and be that entrepreneur? Had you thought about what you wanted to do from a career perspective before you did that?
I did, yes. but I didn't really know what that would look like. So yeah. But
So
I
part of
think
the
I,
transition was you found this opportunity. I mean, you had this aha moment. You
mhm.
found this opportunity, and it was something personal, and you
Yeah.
fell in love with the concept, and you just went for it.
Yeah, so my dad was a producer in Hollywood, and he was also much older when I was born. He was in his
Mm-hmm.
mid 50s when I was born. So
Mm-hmm.
he was very, like, we had a very close relationship, and he was very supportive of me. But he told me once before I started Snippets, but when I was like maybe thinking about it or in
Mm-hmm.
kind of the like a figuring out what I'm going to do with my life, and he said, honey, he said, you are a producer. You are someone who has the idea, pulls the team together, and makes it happen. You know, you don't have to be a hairdresser. You don't have to be a real estate expert. You don't have to be a construction person or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a people manager. You just pull the team together. You keep that vision really strong. And in the end, the person who wins the Academy Award for Best Picture is the producer.
Wow.
So that's what I get, you know. So
That's an amazing piece of advice and a perspective, to sort of look at everything that you do.
yes.
And so you took that advice and you did all that, and then you moved ultimately to
Mm-hmm.
California.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have another dream along the way? And sort of what were you going to do when you got there?
Yeah, so we moved here for my husband's job. He works for one of the big tech companies. He worked
Mm-hmm.
for them in Boston as well, but he got the opportunity to transfer to their Palo Alto um, campus.
Uh-huh.
And I was really excited at the opportunity to move to California. And at that time, I wasn't really, I was in transition. I didn't have a full-time job or anything that was really holding me in Boston. So we moved out here, and I had been doing franchise consulting. So and I still do. I work for a large
Mm-hmm.
franchise consulting organization called iFranchise Group. They're maybe the largest franchise consulting firm in the U.S. for sure, maybe even in the world. But
Mm-hmm.
I work with early stage franchisors. Like if you owned a restaurant or a hair salon or a yoga studio or whatever kind of business and you wanted to franchise it, I
Mm-hmm.
would help you with all of the strategy pieces to put together your franchise documentation. So I was doing that consulting when we moved to California, which I can do from anywhere. I mean, I do
Right.
it from home. I travel. I mean, with
Mm-hmm.
COVID, I don't anymore, but travel to my client site for like one meeting, and the rest I do all virtually.
Right.
So when we moved to California, I was kind of feeling, I don't know, Caryn, like I turned 50. I moved to this new place where I didn't know anyone,
You
and
also have four kids, by the way, right?
I had four. Yeah, I had two more
You had
kids.
two more children.
Yep, yep. So I had my son Ben, who was like my inspiration for Snippets, and then I had a second child right after that, and then I had a pretty long gap, almost 12 years,
Uh-huh.
and then I had two more kids. My screen just went dark. I don't know if that's normal, but um,
I can see you still and we can see you, so we're
okay,
good.
okay. So in any case, I was feeling very um, like lonely, I guess is maybe a way to put it, and
Mm-hmm.
like I'm here in California. I'm literally in my sweats all day long. I have no friends. I have, you know, my kids are too old to need PTA moms, you know, so I'm kind of like
Right. So
not really.
sort of isolated,
I was
right?
feeling a little isolated, and
Mm-hmm.
once again, like these things speak to me, like in these aha moments. I had this idea. I just was sitting in my sweats, doing my consulting, helping other people build their dreams.
Right.
And I said, I got to try again. I got to do it again. So I wanted to open a
In your
yoga
blood.
studio. Yeah, because I love yoga, and I love a certain way of doing yoga that works for me and speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, again, I wanted to like build something that could be franchisable or expandable at least, and
Mm-hmm.
start a chain of yoga studios. And so I went about opening a yoga studio in Palo Alto. Again, I got
Mm-hmm.
like a prime location. I went kind of like go big or go home, like let's do
Now you
this.
knew what you were looking for, though. I mean, you had the fundamentals and the basics down because you were helping other people with it. So you certainly knew what you wanted for yourself.
Exactly. And I also thought, like, how much have I learned in the
Right.
20 years, 20 plus years since I started
Hmm.
Snippet, when I literally knew nothing,
Right.
but just had this idea. Like now I know how to do site selection, lease negotiation, construction, marketing, recruiting,
Right.
training, all of these things. Like I know how to do that, building community, all of those sorts of things.
Right.
So I said, yeah, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to be a serial entrepreneur and do this again. So I know your show is supposed to be about women who are like living their dream life, but my dream had a little bit of a sad ending because I opened my yoga studio. It was doing quite well and I was feeling confident that I was on the right track to
Hmm.
what I wanted to do. But then COVID hit. And the sad ending is that I closed my studio during COVID. And now I'm back to doing consulting in my sweats all day. So, I'm lucky that I got the
But you
call.
never know what's coming next. And I
You
think that
never know.
part of it is, you know, the key to all of this is that, you took the steps, you went forward, and it's not always going to work out. I mean, there's nothing saying that everybody who has this dream and they start and they create it, that they can sustain it.
Right.
There's one thing to have the idea to do it. It's another thing to actually take the next step to get it to the next level. Then there's the next level, which is sustaining the whole project and the company and a business,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a difference between a hobby and a business, as you know, and it's okay if the next step is a hobby and it's okay if the next step is a business, but
Yeah.
there's never a guarantee as an entrepreneur. I mean, what are the statistics? 90% of entrepreneurial companies end up closing.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's not failure. It's actually a great lesson. And also in this case, there were so many factors,
So
and there
many.
are always factors that are out of our control. Weathering the storms are the hardest part.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly right. And, it was, I think like so last year, 2021 was a very shitty year for me. That's all there is to it. From every single thing with running my business was painful. There was not one moment of joy
Hmm.
in all of the bad stuff that was happening. So, I, it was just so, and other things too, like some personal things. And I lost my mom last year and, it was just a
Sorry.
really tough year for
Hmm.
me. And I'm really at peace with my decision to shut down the business. I still believe that I was really onto something, and I sometimes think like, could it be resurrected? Like you said, never say never. You don't know
Right.
what's going to happen, but I think for right now, I've really made a very conscious decision to give myself the space to just wait
Right.
and see. We don't know where the pandemic is going. We don't know we don't
Right.
really know. And I just don't even know what I want to do next. So I'm really
Right.
enjoying the consulting again. I feel like, I did it for a few years and then I did my yoga studio and then, so I wasn't doing the consulting and now I'm back. I'm lucky. I just jumped right
Hmm.
back into it without missing a beat. So, the funny thing is that I get paid. I know most people get paid for their jobs, but I never
Right.
got paid. So I actually get checks in the mail
It's
when
nice, right?
when
You're
I do
getting
my
paid for
consulting.
helping
So
other people, and I don't know about where you're living, but I can tell you that here locally, if you drive through the towns, whether you're in Wellesley or you're in Wayland or you're in Newton, even in Newton Center where I live, I mean, there's a lot of empty spaces,
a
and
lot of
so
empty.
many businesses really just couldn't weather the storm. And it's sad and it's challenging, but like everything else, there are cycles, and that soon somebody's going to start to scoop up those spots, and things are going to go in there, and some will fail and some will succeed, and we'll kind of go through that cycle again, and that is part of the whole transition process. And
Yes.
there are ups and downs, there's peaks and valleys, there's ups and downs. It's never this, if sort of smooth line and straight
Mhm.
line. It's always going to have challenges along the way. And part of the learning from all of this is how to weather those,
Yeah.
and
And
how
I
to,
think another thing that really, like, when I decided to close Turbo 26, that's the name of my yoga studio, I also made the decision to embrace the failure. And like I always said, go big or go home, go big or go home. So when I do things, I do them big, and I failed big. So, and I tried. That's the only thing I can say. Like, I gave it my best shot. I don't think it was really my fault. I think anyone in my circumstances would have faced the same situation.
challenges,
And
right?
I, I I mean, anyone who's successful has had failure.
For sure.
And so I mean, I've had many smaller failures. This is probably the biggest, kind of like
Hmm.
just, making that decision to call it done and call it a failure and just say, okay, I tried, but it failed,
But there's
failed.
still a spark in you that when
I
that right idea comes along, right, whatever that may be, and who knows what that'll be, and who knows when it'll be, that you're willing to take that next step forward again and take that action and take
Yeah.
that leap, whatever size it is, and try again, right?
Yes. If anybody has any ideas, I'm all ears.
You're
These things come to me when I'm very open to what the world is telling me. I'm not like,
hmm
even though I'm a yogi and I love yoga, I'm not a very spiritual person.
hmm
I'm very practical. But when that idea hits me and I know it, I know it.
right,
So I'm happy right now. I'm giving myself the time and the space to pause and see and think. And I don't know what's next, but
and explore.
when I know it, I'll know it.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so if you were to give if you were to tell women who are thinking about taking a leap or trying something or saying, having this dream and saying, I want to go for it, but they're scared or
Yeah.
they don't know how to do it. I mean, what do you wish you knew when you first started? And what could you share with them to think about as they move forward?
I would say, I mean, first of all, if you don't try, you could live with regret that
Right.
you had this idea and you didn't do anything with it, or, you thought of it, but you didn't do it. But
Right.
if you do decide to do it, you have to be okay with the possibility that you might fail. So like, don't bet your house on it. Don't bet your kids' college funds on it. Make sure that you have a plan in place that if
hmm
you do fail, it's not going to ruin your life. And I'm
Right.
lucky that was the case for me. But I mean, financially, it was bad, but
Right.
I'm landing on my feet. So I think that's the advice. But I mean, I would say, remember my dad's words, you're a producer. If you're starting something, there's just no way you can know everything that you need to know to start a business. So you have to just surround yourself with people who believe in you. And I actually see people who are joining in on this
They
Instagram
are.
live who are my friends, and my some of my yoga instructors are on, and so I feel the love, I feel the support, and it takes a village, it takes a lot of people. And I'm the producer, but I'm not the actor, I'm not the director, I'm
Right.
not the cinematographer. And you need all of the different parts to go into it. And if
And
I really had my dream, I'd end up
mhm.
in Hollywood. That's where I want to be. back
Doing
home.
movies or
Oh, I don't
producing,
know,
what
maybe,
would you be doing in Hollywood?
I don't know, maybe producing, I don't know, something project. I love projects, and I would love to like dive into a project. Yeah,
Okay, for anyone listening,
I know.
that's your next dream. I don't know. I think we need to like think about how you can connect to work on that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm here for the next few years until my husband retires. So,
Uh-huh.
we've got a bit more time here that we need to be in Silicon Valley.
Only an
Um,
hour plane ride away,
it's
Joanna.
true. It's true. I'm happy to commute.
Do you
Yes.
know the podcast Happier in Hollywood? Have you heard of the
No.
pod? You have to listen to the pod. There, it's two women, and it's a really great community of women actually who are thinking about, what are they doing and how can they do it? And it's called Happier in Hollywood.
Happier
But
in
you just
Hollywood.
made me think of it. Yeah, as you were saying, Happier in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Check
Yeah.
it out for sure.
Yeah. I never want to be, I know this is going to sound terrible and like I'm an egoist, but I'm really not. But I don't want to be the sideshow. I don't want to be, I want to be the main event, like if I'm going to be Madonna, I want to be Madonna. I don't want to be Madonna's hairdresser, or Madonna's agent,
Right.
that's it. Like I
That's
want to
not good.
be,
That's not good enough. You want it to be your thing, and you want
yeah,
it to
yeah,
be your vision, and you want to take that vision and bring it to life, is what
yeah.
I'm hearing you say.
And I want it to be me. I want it to be my stamp on it. So that's
So
my
as
thing.
people are thinking about franchising, it struck me as a lot of people don't want to start from scratch. And it seems, I think for some to maybe buy a franchise or be part of, do something with a franchise as opposed to having to, come up with the idea and do the entire framework. And I mean, there's some pluses to a franchise because you're
Absolutely.
given so much of the materials and the framework, and you're not starting from scratch, and you also get to see other people's experiences and how they were successful. So is that something that you would recommend to someone who's thinking about doing something?
Yes. So in franchising, there's kind of this like expression, like you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So you do have the support in the community, and the guidelines. So if you are like really entrepreneurial, like you just can't follow the rules, you have to play by your own rules.
Right.
Franchising is probably not for you. But if you can follow a system and you want that kind of scaffolding around you to kind of help you navigate, then franchising can be a great way to be a business owner, in a larger system. So yeah, in franchising, you have the support every step of the way from the time that you purchase the franchise to forever as you run the business. So, and franchising comes in all different types of businesses.
Flavors.
I personally, I like personal services. So, hair salons, massage clinics, yoga studios, fitness studios, things like that, anything kind of in the personal services space. But, of course, food, quick service food, and other kinds of restaurants can be franchised. And then another huge category is what they call like a man in a van, which is where you'd have like a window washing company or a plumber,
Right.
type of a service where, the franchise investment's pretty low because you just pay the franchise fee and get yourself a van and
Right.
you're up and running. So, but everything that you need to run the business is delivered by the franchisor. So yeah, if anybody
So
wants
it's another flavor of how to sort of get started, and become an entrepreneur or to try something different. It's definitely another way to go without having to start from scratch with, no history, no information, and just
and
completely on your own.
no guarantee of success with franchising. It's still a lot of work. And you as the franchisee and the owner of that location or those locations have to put the work in to run the businesses. And, it's hard work,
Right.
but you have a better chance of success, I think.
You have a bit of a net around you in terms of resources.
Yes. And some economies of scale, right? Like where if you're just one location, you may not have the resources to do the kind of marketing campaigns or the kind of customer acquisition or the software that's, that runs the business and things like that. So there's a lot more resources available, even if you're just owning one or two locations, that you wouldn't really be able to do unless you're in a larger system.
Right.
So
I think that's what's really interesting about this whole concept of taking the leap and moving forward and, going, to start a dream business and, and do all of that. There's so many flavors and there's so many ways to get it done. And some people are going to go slower. Some, you said it took 3 years on your first idea. Some people, and that's not even slow, but till you get funding, till you meet the right people, till you find the right locations, till you find all the resources that you need to put something into action. It's not a, 2-week process where next week, okay, here I am, I'm up and running. So you have to be in it, with at least a long-term or some kind of a window that you're willing to put into it to see if you can be successful with it, number one.
Yeah.
and to just get off the ground. And some people are going to, go, head down, and they're going to do it full time, and they're going to make it happen quicker. And some people are going to keep their day job, and they're going to slowly move into what it is they're trying to do and see if it's going to work. And both ways are fine. It just depends on what works for you.
Yeah.
And with your
And
personality.
And I also think there's a lot of soul searching that goes into making the decision. When there's at some point there's no turning back, right? When you sign the lease and you pop it in the mail, or you
Right.
know, whatever is that trigger point that you sign the franchise agreement or whatever it is. But up until that point, you're there's like a lot of like, am I really going to do this? Could I live with myself if I didn't do this? What will this look like for my kids? Like, do I want to be a working mom?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be like a stressed out mom?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the questions that will come up. And I think people need to give themselves the time to kind of process and also talk to a lot of people. One thing that drives me crazy, because I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I used to work at Mass Challenge, so that was
Right.
another big entrepreneurial organization. And I do not like startups that go in stealth mode and they don't talk about what they're doing, because they don't get feedback. And you need
Right.
to get feedback. You need to tell people, and your idea evolves, just even like, I have this idea, I'm going to open a children's hair salon, and then I see the movie Beauty and the Beast, and then I talk to my hairdresser and she says something, and then something else, and like every little thing.
It's another piece of the puzzle.
It's another like little like crumb in the path that
Right.
leads you to the result of what you're trying to do. And it happens all along the way. So you can't say, oh, I'm launching a startup, but I can't tell you what it is. And no one wants to steal your idea. No one. Does anybody want to open a children's hair salon? I mean,
no one I know, but hey.
I just don't, look, power to them if they could do it. But,
right.
There's room for more than one, I guess. But that's
right.
That's, to me, that's just so important, just to take that time, not just all of the things that you need to do to prepare your business, like,
mm-hmm.
Find a location, find your employees, blah, blah, blah. But it's also just this more internal process of saying like, what's my life going to look like? What are my finances going to look like? Do I really want to do this? Do I have support of my family? It's
a really good point. And I think, and I run a mastermind for women who are in transition. And a lot of those questions are questions that you can think about internally, but it's also great to, as you say, get the feedback of other people, to just sort of, see what somebody else thinks about it and what was their experience. And part of the beauty of EO is that experience sharing, and part of the beauty of all of these other types of groups and masterminds and just community organizations. And I'm hearing you say, don't shut yourself off, but put yourself out there and share your idea and get all that feedback, do that market research, understand what's going on, and ask people.
Mm-hmm.
And then take all of that and say, okay, is this still something that I want to do? Do people need this? Is this something that I think can make it in the marketplace? And is it something that I can last doing?
Yeah.
I think is there the need, and can I do it? And do I want to do it? And I think once you also hit this age, that is a really big question. Is this what I want to do right now at this point in my life? Because maybe you wanted to do it 20 years ago, but maybe, you know what? You're past that now. You've moved on, and maybe that's not a good fit for you right now. So I think they're all really important and valid questions to think
mm-hmm.
about.
Yeah. And I think, like I'm getting older, but I'm not that old. Like I have so many years still ahead of me
mm-hmm.
of productivity and lively
energy.
So, I mean, I could think about being retired, but that just doesn't suit me at all. Doesn't suit me at all. So
not your personality.
Not in my personality. And, in mid 50s isn't what it used to be, so we're young. That's all.
Right. So this has been great. I love chatting with you. I love seeing you. It's been so long.
I know.
So it's so great. And it's just really great connecting, and also connecting around something that is kind of near and dear to both our hearts, right?
Definitely.
And so I look forward to continuing the conversation. For anyone that's watching, you can share this. It's going to be up on YouTube Please feel free to share it with your friends. Joanna will be sharing it on her Instagram site, and hopefully you'll see it in other places. Later this week, I have another entrepreneur who I actually also met through Entrepreneurs Organization. Marsha Rawls will be on, and she just opened the Phoenix Wellness Retreat. Again, in that health and wellness space, which is a really great opportunity for a lot of people right now and of interest to a lot of people. So watch us on Thursday. We will be on at 1 p.m., I believe, Eastern Time. Joanna, thank you so much for your time, your energy,
Thank you.
your sharing, your experience. And I'm so excited for you and what you do next. And I can't wait to just keep watching your journey. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks.
My
I just see
pleasure.
so many names popping up. So I want to thank all my friends who listen to some or all of this. Warms my heart, and I miss you guys.
Yeah, they're here watching. So definitely share it with them, and they can see it after the fact as well. But thanks everyone for being here today. And we'll see you later this week. And thanks for coming to Taking the Leap. Take care. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Caryn.
Thank you, Joanna.